Hey everyone, welcome to the Front Row Back Row podcast. Brian and I have each grown physical therapy businesses to 2 million plus in annual revenue. We're looking to get good advice to PTs trying to grow their practices. Enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Front Row Back Row podcast. My name is Dr. Owen Campbell, and with me, as always, is Dr. Brian Wolf. And today we are going to be talking about networking. Now, this is a show that really focuses on entrepreneurs, and some entrepreneurs, especially if they're solopreneurs, think, man, I don't need a network. I don't need a job from anyone. We're going to show you how to effectively network, not just within the physical therapy profession, but also obviously for referral partners, things like physicians, gym owners, all that stuff. What are the benefits of networking? Why you should really have a LinkedIn page? I can't believe how many solopreneurs I know who don't even haven't updated their LinkedIn page since college. And all these important things, they'll help you get more money with less work because people will do the stuff you want for them. So with that, Brian and I have a mentorship group or mastermind, I think we call it. And it's called Physio Growth. So physio-growth.com. It is a weekly Q&A session with us. Brian has built a company from the back of his car up into a $2 million a year, 5-clinic behemoth in the tri-state area. And I have had the great fortune of helping other companies build and grow, not just clinics, but also regions to successful sales. And I just started my own mobile company out of the back of my car. And that's why you should listen to us. Anyway, Brian, networking. Let's go.
Well, Owen and I were talking about different stuff for this. Networking is one of those things. It's a lost art to a degree, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that when it comes to networking, it's the simplest way to get started. I've heard certain people talk about, well, look at all the contacts in your phone and then start texting them and doing stuff. Well, the reality of what you can be doing that's a little bit more simple within that context is looking at the contacts within your phone and figuring out who are the people that could potentially help you start and grow your business or help you in any capacity with how to build around any type of program that you're deploying, any type of aspects within your organization where you're trying to grow, and then help and rekindle those relationships. So I think there's a lot of really good ways that you could do it, and networking has a lot of different angles that can be super, super effective.
So let's set this up then, structure it, right? Like we have the basics of networking. We're not going to go through that. Everyone knows how to shake hands, kiss babies, all that stuff.
I think we should touch it because I think less people know about it than you think. But no, go ahead.
Okay, all right. But I want to at least give some big tips that Brian and I both like. Things like business networking groups. Some are awful, right? You're one of 25 PTs going for 2 doctors. Others are really good. So I know both of us are big proponents of BNI, Business Networking International. That's a referral group where you are the only PT in the group. And a lot of PTs do that. And then there's other, like Brian said, kind of comb your phone, right? See what things, can kind of come up. But like Brian, you said, you don't think PTs, you don't think anybody's really got the basics of networking down, or at least you see it less and less than you would expect. So kind of let's go on that.
I think one thing, a certain feedback that I've been given in my career that I think that has been very positive for me and has helped me really grow my business is I find in particular that I can see certain angles in particular within my business a lot faster and how things can help people grow in any capacity, whether it's, seeing the angle of how someone can help me. Oh, that person is likes this. I'm going to work on this, or somebody's, whatever it is from a growth perspective, it's seeing the different angles that can improve. And it's more of how can I help other people and how can those people help me? Right. And it's in that concept. And so I'll give you a great example because this is why this came up. Owen was talking about somebody in our group. By the way, this is a great plug for why you should join Physio Growth because in theory, we help you see these angles that we are pretty good at doing. Owen was talking with somebody. We have a person in the group. They were looking for certain relationships and blah, blah. He happened to text somebody that he was friends with who was like, I know this person who's one of these top people. You should go talk to them. And the person was several layers or basically several levels above that person where the person was in their business. So that person would have never punched up that high had they not talked to Owen. So that particular part was it's one of the things that I think has a ton of value for Physio Growth is we're making this very inexpensive because we understand the idea of networking and how to grow a large network, because then it can grow across the world and you never know where the hell that can go. And so the aspect of, as we're building this, one of the things that's kind of cool is Owen was able to help somebody just with a relationship because of the relationship that you created with this triangle. So that's the whole point of what occurs within networking is you never know where a relationship's going to go. So I think a lot of people are very short-sighted at times, and they're also very me oriented, right?
Yeah.
The concept of what you got to be thinking about when you're building a business and you're trying to network is, how can I help other people? How can I help them? It's and the reason it's a psychological principle. It's a psychological principle of reciprocation. Or I have a client that I love. He calls it giver's guilt, right? He calls that piece where he goes,
Yep.
if I give you something, if I give you a piece of business or I help you do something, you naturally psychologically have to feel like you reciprocate to me. How many people have offered you $20 or lent you $20 that you're like, oh my God, I got to give back the $20, right?
Yeah.
And so in that capacity, if I'm giving somebody some help in their business and they will feel the need to reciprocate. Now, that's not the only reason to do it. Eventually, you're saying, hey, I can help other people. I can use the people, I can do the stuff. But there becomes this natural reciprocation because you've reached out, because you've done the thing that you're doing, and taking genuine curiosity in the person, and then also invested potentially dollars into them, right? So that's how networking works. It comes from a place of friendship, right? Or it comes from a place of collaboration. It comes from a place of constructive movements so that you can actually be better at what you're doing. And that's why networking is so effective.
Yeah, and I honestly I agree with all those points. I think the most important point that you made there was that you have to put yourself in the other person's shoes and to be able to say, okay, what do I want out of this person? That's usually fairly obvious. But the question is going to be, how can I benefit that person, right? So, what can I do to make them get up out of their chair or onto their phone and make a connection for me? Tell a friend to come to my business. These are the things that I think that as people say they are timid with networking, and I don't know, I went to a few of these things and it didn't really work out. It's kind of like a lot of stuff we talk about in this podcast, like advertising and all that sort of like, you have to grind, you have to be okay with the fact that you're not going to get immediate results right as you do it. So I think putting yourself in someone else's shoes of like, yeah, but why do I need this person when you come up to them? I think a great example of that is gym owners, right? So a lot of PTs will go to gyms and they will say, I am a physical therapist. How would you like to send me business? And they would just stop at that. And they don't realize that that personal trainer is sitting there and saying, look, I've built a business with a bunch of people who like me. And as every PT knows, like probably half of a busy clinic, a good portion, well, I shouldn't say half, but a good portion of people, they just need insurance funded, like working out. Right. So these personal trainers get people better. Right. So they're like, wait, why do I need you? Right. And you have to kind of go in and say things like, I could help with loss mitigation. Right. So I can say, if you have a guy with a shoulder issue and he quit your boot camp, well, if I'm your guy, then look, you helped him get better. Right. So kind of flipping the script on like, how can you put money in their pocket is a really big, kind of thing. And also just
1000%.
noticing what they care about, right? There was a thing somebody was talking to me about with industrial PT. And he's like, yeah, that's great that you can help with all that stuff, but you got to tell them the dollars and cents, man. Like the entrepreneur on the other side of the table does not care about your OCS, your whatever. They care how much money
Yes.
can you save me. So those are the things when you're networking, you have to go in and say like, how can I benefit this person? Give towards that, right? Be okay with the fact that you might have to give a free session or whatever, right? With the long term in mind.
Yeah, I agree with that because I think and I agree with you. Great example of different ways this works within networking and just growing your business. We have had different clients that have utilized their services. So first off, when you come to networking groups, in particular, we work with a lot of gyms. I think a bigger thing that I have talked about in the gym space that we do a really good job of, particularly as a company, is helping customers retain their clients. If you understand the fitness business like I do, the biggest thing that you're looking for with fitness It's three things. It's how to get more leads into that business, how to convert those leads into paying customers, how to fulfill on the service that you're providing and retain those people so they don't churn out, right? That is the game in fitness. Bring more people in than are churning out of your gym. It's that simple. And if you can do that effectively over time, you can create a really successful fitness business, whether it's personal training, whether it's large group training, small group training, any of those things. Now, one of the things that's interesting that physical therapists can partner with gyms, and the way that they can create as an angle is, if you've done this long enough, the biggest thing physical therapists can do is saying, I can help your clients stay healthy so they stay in the gym. And if a gym owner is smart and doesn't have a physical therapist in there, they can say, wait a minute, I can put a physical therapist in my gym who will pay me money, who I can give business whenever somebody says, hey, we have a problem or pain or some kind, and that person will keep them in my gym for me and pay me to do that. Or like, that's amazing. Along with the idea of, they will then have the objection overcome in a sales meeting when someone's like, well, I'm afraid of getting hurt in the gym. Well, we have a physical therapist here. No problem. That's what makes us different. We have a physical therapist here. So now I'm going to convert more sales. That's where physical therapy, by the way, there's the angle we're talking about. Somebody ding dongs like, I have this OCS and look how sick I am as a PT. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them. What matters is what I just said. It moves their bottom line. By the way, if you suck at doing that, go get your OCS. Like, don't be an idiot. But at the same time, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's where physical therapy can help gym owners. So think about that process, right? How do I add value?
I love how we're both OCSs and we both ripped on being an OCS in the business sense.
You know what it is? You know what it is, Owen? Because you know this. You know this. And this is the thing I would say. It's not that I don't believe in the OCS and what those guys are trying to do, and whether it's geriatrics or
nobody knows about
orthopedics, and that's just nobody other than physical therapists knows about it. Nobody else does. Nobody else does, guys. So when you think about that, if you're going to use that as, look at this thing I have in my back pocket, that's the value. I'm just really good at my job. No one gives a shit. So it's like, the reality of what you need to do is, hey, how do I create value? Well, as a physical therapist, and I specialize in this niche, this is how I really help people. That's why PTs did so much in CrossFit gyms, right? Yeah. I think it's like one of those things where, same thing, if you're going to go to, different places and niches, like, that's where you can be super helpful. Whether I've seen PTs popping up in jiu-jitsu places and dance studios and all over the place. So there's a lot of different places where physical therapists can find that niche and ultimately show that value. And I think that's some of the ways that you can do that. And that network really matters, because now there's going to be an active incentive. And you've also explained how they can refer you and leverage them on the other side. So, hey, if you refer me these people, these are the people that I really can help you with and can see. And so every time that you're in that gym and you're working with that person, they can be really effectively growing, and you can actually be part of that growth, right? Like, that's the key.
And this can go for anything. Industrial
Totally.
PT, right? If you're doing industrial PT, the guy, the cement guy across the table, he absolutely wants to know, that. And pelvic health, how does the physician go, all these things, right? So the other thing that I want to make sure I get in, and we'll talk about what I want to talk about is how networking helps with hiring. But first, I want to say, if you have enjoyed this podcast so far, if you get value out of it, please tell your friends. We want more people kind of listening to hopefully get some of this knowledge. We feel we're uniquely honest in the space. So tell your friends. But Brian, so networking as it comes to hiring, I know in our mastermind group, we've been hitting this pretty hard with a few of the entrepreneurs, with like how you should be having a long game with networking. So I know you've done that a lot, right? In Connecticut and Long Island. So kind of give me your game plan on how you use that, how you effectively network for that.
So you mean from afar, or you mean from like a standpoint of like,
well, just how does networking help you not be the guy who is like struggling to fill a PT?
Oh, good question. So So I think one of the things that happens, a natural one is not being the small struggling guy. That helps. I think you know what I mean. This is a reality situation.
Have some money.
Yes, having money does help. I think that's the short answer of it. That's the quickest way to do it. So get some money if you can. I think that here's a great way of how. All right, here's a great way of how it would help people. Right, there is a guy that has helped us repetitively get a ton of closed business through BNI or through these networking groups. And I'll give you a great example. I tell people there's different tiers for referrals. I'm stealing this straight from BNI. I just tubbed at that, but it's great. If I think about me referring myself to Owen or Owen referring himself to me, so in that gym owner perspective, if I treat the coaches or the gym owners, that could be really effective marketing, right? But much more effective marketing on the flip side are those other tiers. And I joke about it because if I think about the science of reciprocation, if I refer myself to somebody individually and then they refer themselves back to me, all we're doing is just exchanging money back and forth. That's all we're doing. So it doesn't really move the needle in a positive way, if that makes sense. So I see Owen having kind of a quizzical look on his face.
No, because I'm asking about like for hiring.
Oh, for hiring.
Yeah.
All right. Let me go back from that perspective. So let me finish my thought, and then we'll circle back on the hiring side. So what I would say specifically when we talk about how to market on a bigger side, if you're struggling or in a smaller space, the other aspect is if you're struggling, to fix that ratio, right? So say from a 1-to-1 perspective, I hand you somebody $100, they hand me $100. That's going to make it much more difficult for me to grow. Whereas what you're asking for certain people to say, hey, really great relationships for me are coaches or athletic directors or doctors or X, Y, or Z person, golf pros, golf clubs, golf, you know what I mean? Whatever. So that they refer me and you create streams of referrals, because ultimately what that does is then it gives you a 10-to-1 ROI, right, on that kind of stuff. And that's going to make your growth a lot better. And essentially, it's also going to make your ability to hire a lot better. So to bring it back to the hiring aspect, so that's how you can work on the struggling side. The other aspect is you can leverage more with money, because I can spend more money on other people's services that I need for certain things. And then ultimately they can fix that too, right? So, which is awesome. My thought process when it comes to hiring, and we could do a whole other podcast, seems to be something that keeps coming up and up and up in all of our groups. When it comes to hiring is, again, efficiency and growth. And same thing that we talked about is networking on these second and third tier referrals. What you want to be doing is because if it's a first tier referral, everybody's being built on me. Everybody's being built on everybody else. You have to be able to transfer that trust to somebody else. So what ends up happening is we are finding repetitively that people are saying, well, I have this great network of people, but they all want to see me. Well, that's a problem, right? That's going to make hiring a lot more difficult. So what you want to do is hire people and be able to push them off to other employees within your business, right? That's the idea. And if you can do that effectively, that's what allows you to hire, because guess what? Now you're leveraging your time, because now you're making money, not just on your time. And that allows you to be able to do other stuff, right? And allows you to network and grow and do other things along those lines, right?
And I think that's important, right? Is you have to be able to, as you're saying, I need another person, right? If you're just as, a solopreneur, then really you're scrambling, right? You're hitting up LinkedIn, you're asking friends, you just started, you haven't even been thinking about hiring until, oh crap, I need to, right? So join our group, by the way. We will show you how to head that off when you're not busy.
Exactly.
But the thing that Brian I think that is really important for entrepreneurs, maybe 1, 2, or 3 employees, where they're trying to add that next one, is that you have to free yourself up, right?
Yeah.
Because networking is not a quick and easy punch something for an ad and it'll go, at least not in today's hiring environment, right? You have to work those text messages, phone calls, following up, all that stuff. And it's so important to have a network within the PT profession as an entrepreneur. I never thought of that. Like when I was working for somebody else, I was like, okay, whatever. I have a network. I work for somebody, but really I should be networking to physicians to try and get them to send me people. I'm realizing, even honestly, I get referrals from other PTs at this point. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Like if I close anything on this podcast, it's go to the meetings, go to some of the stuff, like network with people. right? Like, do not look at another PT as competition. Look at them as a referral source, not just for business, but for potentially your new employee. So yeah, I
Cool.
mean, with that, Brian, you got anything else you want to add on the
No,
importance of
baby.
networking?
Let's land this plane, Bubby. Let's do it.
All right. All right. We're coming in under 20 minutes. I like it.
All
All
right.
right. And with that, we are out. Have a good one,
See ya.
man.
You too.